So, as we already know that a variable is only available from inside a region, it is created. All right. If it is a bigger region, we call it global scope, and if it is inside its function procedure, then it is called the local scope. So let's first discuss about local scope. And as you know that both for function and procedure, what we have is defined definition. So basically from Python's point of view, they both are functions. So let's define local. So let's say if it is, let's say definition my function, and I have created a variable over here. This x is equal to 30, and then I actually printed this x. And then let's say I call this function. This x in this particular scenario is a local variable. Local scope or local variable. Secondly, it is also possible in Python that we have a function inside another function. That is quite possible. So x is now just available inside a function. So if I go, let's say I create another function inside this function, define your function. And we print x. So define my function, we defined x, and then inside this function, I defined your function, and then I want to print x. All right, so this is done. Now I will get back to my function. You need to understand what is happening. A function is having another function inside it, but it will not be executed by default. That mother function, which is actually harboring a function inside it, should call this function. So I will be calling it your function. So this function, your function, is actually inside my function. This x is the local variable of my functions. And then once we get out of this function, we called your function, means I am now in my function. We check the indentation. If I'm here, I'm inside your function. If I'm here, I'm inside my function. See, this 30 is now printed. This is something new for you. So the scope of this x is for my function and anything inside it. If there is a function inside another function and the variable was actually created in the mother function, it is available to the further functions inside it, child functions. Do you get it? But if I go outside, define second function, and I want to print x over here. And I call second function. There will be error. X is not defined. So this x is there. Okay, so x is not defined. So for that reason, if it is t variable, it will say t not defined. So if I make t global by putting it outside any other function, so it will print 30 inside this local scope and then t inside this global scope. Get the idea? So this was just a reminder for you. So when a variable is defined outside any function at the scope of the program, it is said to be the global variable. This global scope or global variable is actually available to any function or function inside or any function of that particular scope. So this is the scope of this program. This is the scope of this program and this is the scope of this particular function. Okay. So अब आप देख लें अगर लोकल वेरिएबल इधर बना हुआ तो उसके अंदर भी फंक्शन होगा तो वो लोकल वेरिएबल अवेलेबल होगा, लेकिन इसके बाहर फंक्शन होगा तो वो अवेलेबल नहीं होगा क्योंकि इसकी लोकेलिटी जो है वो सिर्फ इस फंक्शन तक महदूद है, इसके बाहर नहीं। लेकिन इस टी की जो लोकेलिटी है वो इस फंक्शन में, इसके अंदर वाले फंक्शन में और इसके बराबर वाले किसी भी फंक्शन में मजे से अवेलेबल है। So this is local and global scope. Now there is one thing which is actually funny inside Python, that you can create a global scope variable inside a function. That you can create a global variable inside a function. So what if I like to create this t over here and I want to create it as global? So you can see that this t is actually inside this function and inside another function inside my function. So what I will do, I will use global statement, global t. All right. So this t is actually global nature. So if you need to create a global variable but are stuck somewhere inside the local scope, you can create a global variable over there as well. I don't think that we will ever be using this Ajib-o-Gharib scenario, but that is quite possible. So I can access this t. बेटा एक सेकंड क्वेश्चन ले रहा हूँ, ये देखो ये t अवेलेबल हो गया, although ये इससे बाहर वाले फंक्शन से भी बाहर एक्सेस हो रहा है, लेकिन ये इसका ग्लोबल स्कोप है. So this is still global variable. So you can put this t over here or anywhere inside a function with the global statement. The global statement is a declaration which holds for the entire current code block. ठीक हो गया. Let's see what is the question. Question is, sir, if we declare variable in your function, will it be a local scope to your function only, or it will be a local scope for my function as well? Yes, this is a good question. Let's say I create a local variable u with 9 and I want to print it at my function level. Print u. See, this is out of scope. This u is a local scope of your function. It is not available any function above it. This is actually upside down. It is not vice versa. If a function is having a local variable inside its scope, any function above it will not be able to access it. Had that been true, this second function will be able to access x as well because this is one level above. Okay, so this u is not present here. Get the answer, bete? Aage samajh mein? So if it is onwards, function inside function inside function, then it is available. But if it is backwards, no, then it is not available. But you can, this is one thing funny, that you can create a global variable inside a function. Mind this, sometimes you may require this to be programmed.